What if your favorite childhood fairy tales held dark secrets beneath their whimsical surfaces? Classic fairy tales are far more than simple bedtime stories. They are layered with hidden meanings about power, gender, and societal fears that remain shockingly relevant today. Power and oppression in Cinderella. Forget the glass slipper. The real Cinderella was about survival. On the surface, Cinderella is a rags to riches story about a kind-hearted girl who overcomes cruelty to marry a prince. However, a deeper reading reveals themes of class struggle and female agency. The stepmother and stepsisters represent oppressive forces that exploit Cinderella's labor, mirroring historical class disparities where lower-class women were often subjected to servitude. Moreover, the original versions of the tale include darker elements, self-mutilation by the stepsisters to fit into the slipper, and vengeful punishments. These details suggest that the story was not just about reward for virtue, but also about the brutal consequences of social climbing and vanity. Sexual awakening in Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood has long been interpreted as a cautionary tale about stranger danger. However, psychoanalytic critics, including Bruno Bettelheim, argue that the story symbolizes a young girl's sexual awakening. The red hood represents menstruation or sexual maturity, while the wolf embodies predatory male figures. In Charles Perrault's version, the tale ends with the wolf devouring Little Red, serving as a stark warning about the dangers of naivety. The Grimm brothers' adaptation, where a huntsman rescues her, introduces a moralistic twist, suggesting that female virtue must be protected by male authority. This duality reflects societal anxieties about female independence and sexuality. Economic anxiety in Hansel and Gretel. At its core, Hansel and Gretel is a survival story, but its subtext reveals economic desperation. The parents' decision to abandon their children stems from famine and poverty, a reality in medieval Europe where infanticide was sometimes a tragic last resort. The witch's gingerbread house symbolizes false security, a lure that disguises danger, much like predatory lenders or exploitative systems that prey on the vulnerable. The children's triumph over the witch signifies resourcefulness in the face of adversity, but it also underscores the harsh realities of survival in a world where adults, whether by choice or necessity, may betray their own children. Female rivalry in Snow White. Snow White is often seen as a battle between beauty and vanity, but its hidden subplot revolves around female competition and aging. The queen's obsession with being the fairest of them all reflects societal pressures on women to maintain youth and beauty. Snow White's passive role, being saved by male rescuers, the huntsman and the prince, reinforces traditional gender roles where women are valued for their appearance rather than their agency. Some interpretations suggest that the story critiques the patriarchal structure that pits women against each other. The queen's eventual downfall serves as a warning against vanity, but also highlights the limited roles available to women in a male-dominated world. The tragedy of forced conformity in The Little Mermaid. Disney's happy ending is a lie. Anderson's original story is a tragic allegory for unrequited love and self-sacrifice. It also carries a subtext about the pain of forced assimilation. The mermaid's transformation into a human is agonizing. Every step feels like walking on knives, symbolizing the suffering endured when one changes their identity to fit societal expectations. Furthermore, the mermaid's ultimate fate, dissolving into sea foam after failing to win the prince's love, suggests that self-erasure for the sake of acceptance leads to annihilation. Anderson's tale serves as a cautionary lesson about the cost of abandoning one's true self. The dark origins of Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is commonly known as a romantic tale about a princess awakened by true love's kiss. However, earlier versions contain disturbing themes of assault and non-consensual relationships. In Basilee's version, the sleeping princess is raped by a king, bears children in her unconscious state, and only wakes when one of them sucks the poisoned flax from her finger. This grim narrative reflects historical attitudes toward women's autonomy and the male entitlement to female bodies. The sanitized versions remove these elements, transforming the story into one of passive female beauty rewarded by male heroism. The tale's evolution highlights how fairy tales have been reshaped to fit changing moral standards, masking their original, more troubling messages. These stories weren't meant to just entertain, they were warnings, critiques, and reflections of the darkest corners of human nature. Next time you read a fairy tale, ask yourself, What is this really trying to say?